Well, here's a bit of crazy that I thought I wouldn't encounter in my time, but apparently Phil Phillips is back, and he's vengeful more so than ever. Not actually, but the spirit of him lives on. He's not dead, but he looks it. Anyway, I was scrolling through my Facebook and I noticed that one of the pages I follow shared this original post, and I couldn't help but just find this shit hilarious, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So, somebody who I'm gonna blot out their name because some people have taken this shit too far and they've started messaging her and giving a shit. Fuck you if you're one of those people, by the way. I don't understand how any of this warrants wishing harm on somebody's entire family or their entire livelihood because they simply say something that you think is bullshit. Like, no. I'm sorry, but that's utter fucking shit. Actually, I'm not sorry. You're a dick. So, I'm blowing out the name because this woman and her family don't deserve to be harassed over this stupid shit, but they do deserve to be made fun of by snarky ass people on the internet. So, I read this post, and it's got an exclamation point, so you know it's like a warning sign, so you know that it's legitimate. Warning to other parents out there: Jurassic Park went woke. Now, the second that I read that, I just was like, oh boy. And is encouraging sin. I mean, the first problem that I have with this entire thing, right? Jurassic Park has always, in some way, encouraged sin because it encourages you to do God's work for Him. The whole point of Jurassic Park is that people try to play God and shouldn't. Like, that's not even a religious thing. That is just the overall moral of the story, that someone tries to bring back dinosaurs that were extinct. And then people start to ask the question when they go rampant, maybe these things are extinct for a fucking reason. This one made me mad because my 5-year-old loves dinosaurs and loves this show because it's about dinosaurs. Well, I mean, good for her. Like, I had a similar phase when I was 5. I loved fucking dinosaur shit. It was when dinosaurs really took off because Walking with Dinosaurs, the original 1998 documentary, hit the air, and that was awesome. That show, like, it was really good at the time. The CGI shows some real crow's feet, but it's like an animal documentary, but like the animals are dinosaurs basically, as if somebody filmed it at the time, and it's really good. It's like Jurassic Park 1 special effects, but as a nature documentary, which I really appreciate as a concept. It was very ahead of its time in terms of that. But anyway, for 4 seasons, it was all about these kids trying to escape Jurassic Park. It took these kids 4 seasons to escape Jurassic, okay, and get home to their families. Then they had to go and do this, and by this, they're referring to the little kiss in the forest. Luckily, I was watching this with her and shut it off before she'd ever seen this part. And that's kind of my first problem. This person thinks that the best thing you can do with a child is to completely control what they are and aren't exposed to. Now, in the home environment, this is possible. But when your kid gets to school in September, I'm assuming because she's 5, or goes back to school, let me get you in on a little secret, lady. Your kid is going to find out that gay people exist because the kids in her class are probably going to call her gay at some point, and she's probably going to want to know what that means. So she's probably going to overhear 2 kids calling each other gay as an insult. And in truth, that was kind of my introduction to what gay people were. Nobody hid it from me, and I still ended up at the age of 6 first discovering that gay people existed because my friend came to my house and kept ranting all day about how gay people made him uncomfortable and shuddering, like, over dramatically, and being ridiculous about it. And he was like, oh, gay people, oh, God. And I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. And it took a couple of months later when I actually saw something else. I don't know, it must have been like The Simpsons or something, when I learned what gay people are, and I was like, is that what my friend really had an episode over for like an entire day? Just this. It was underwhelming, not gonna lie. So, yeah, your kids are gonna find out, and all you've done is just denied the ability for it to be on your terms with this, so good job, I guess. I heard one of the girls say she wanted to be more than friends with another female character in the show, and immediately shut it off. Fucking hell, like, draw. Just grab the remote and just switch it off immediately. And explain that we would never be watching this show again. You don't really explain why we're never watching the show again. It's just, oh, we're not allowed to watch this anymore. Like, because we're too scared of anything that's remotely different to how we do things in this house. And this was one of the points that I wanted to make. The worst thing you can do for a kid is give them a narrative, from my experience. Because if you do, you end up with something like this. This man's name is Dustin Nunn, and he's a very unhappy middle-aged man who all he does is parrot his father's views verbatim, not really knowing at this point why he hates the things that he hates. It's just dad hates them and he wants to keep his dad happy, so he just says his dad's dumb opinions without ever thinking for himself. And he's lonely and bored and depressed and miserable, and nobody wants anything to do with him at all, and he can't handle the idea of anybody having a different opinion to him, so he has no friends. He had a friend last year, but then found out that his friend accepts gay people and cut all ties with him, and now he's lonely again and has no friends. And it's like, kind of sad to me, because you're basically programming your kids to be completely unresponsive to an ever-changing world, and all you're doing is crippling them. And to tell the truth, I honestly think that the best thing you can do, from my experience working in education, is when a kid is exposed to a new concept, don't tell them what's a thing. Find out what they think first, and then whatever they think, challenge it. Even if you agree with their original statement, give them the alternative viewpoint to consider. And if they still find their original viewpoint, it's stronger because they actually had to sort of fight for it. I know you don't believe in vaccines because your profile picture suggests as much, but it's like a vaccine sort of faith. You get told something, you have your first thought on the thing, that first thought is challenged, and you're either stronger in your conviction or your conviction changes to something that can survive, which is kind of like how vaccinations work with diseases. You're either immune to the disease immediately or you get a bit sick but then come out stronger for it. And I feel like that is a much better way to introduce your kids to new concepts than just hiding them from it and then basically telling them what to think. Because in all honesty, that's more likely going to end up with something you don't want than giving them the chance. My daughter was super sad about it at first. Yeah, because her favourite TV show was taken away from her for no reason other than that her mum has a bit of a sewer bum. But luckily I have already had a lot of talks with her about how the devil tries to deceive us through the things that we see on TV and through music. So she knows when something promotes sin, we no longer watch or listen to it. That makes it sound like you don't have much faith in yourself. Because, for me personally, right, I detest bigotry. I detest Nazism and all kinds of shit, right? Even as a child, I could watch something that I disagreed with and not flinch in the face of it. Your faith must be really weak if seeing two girls kiss demolishes it. What you're saying to your kid is anything that disagrees with us should be avoided at all costs. So, one of two things is going to happen. She's going to end up a Dustin Nunn, or she's going to end up like another character who I know who wasn't allowed to think for himself, and then when someone came along with a differing viewpoint that was attractive to him, he immediately went for it without questioning it. And now he is apparently now he's under police custody for making terroristic threats, but the dude's been supporting pedophiles without question for years. And that's what his parents ended up doing to him through behaving like this, because he honestly questions everything now because he was lied to as a child and hidden from any form of truth. So again, you're not really doing anybody any favours. And I say this respectfully because I understand everyone has their own ideas on how to raise their kids and shit. But I don't think this is ever the way to go about it. Because what you are basically doing is one of two things. You are either lobotomizing your child's critical thinking skills, or you are putting them on ice until some unspecified day. You're turning your child into a time bomb who will one day go off and will have a lot of questions that went unanswered. They will be in a lot of situations when they're older that they just don't understand, and when they give explanations like this to their peers in school, they're going to look a bit silly. So I feel like you owe it to your child to give them a better explanation than, well, it's the devil, honey, we can't watch this show no more. Because in actuality, the devil, if he was an actual entity, would not give a shit what your child watches. I'm sorry, but he just wouldn't. Someone brought this up the other day in a feed that I was reading because my friend tagged me in it and was like, dude, you gotta read this. This guy's been arguing with me for ages, and he had this kind of logic. And she made the adequate point that the devil does not care about this shit. Because, let's face it, whether your kid watches this crap or not, the world is unchanged. People are unchanged. So as a result, no amount of Jurassic Park teenage lesbian frolicking in the woods is ever going to satisfy the devil. It's just not. Sorry, but child sex slaves exist. You could probably get off on that shit for years. So she later went on to say that she will not apologise for stating biblical truth, which is fair enough. I just ask that she considers, or people of this mindset consider, that your biblical truth doesn't mean jack shit to someone like me. I hate to say it, but if Ganesh had this opinion, or an opinion that my life wasn't being lived correctly, he can go cry his elephant head into something and I don't care. Because I live my way and I don't care about what some fucking god thinks about that. Especially a god that I don't fucking follow for a plethora of reasons. So she then says that the attacks on her husband, and her business is rooted in pure evil. I do agree with this. There have been a number of really shitty messages sent to this woman for no real reason. And I honestly think that, the threats made against this woman's livelihood and her business and everything else were just, no. You don't need to sink to that level because you just make yourself look bad, and I have to waste time fucking saying that when we should have known it from birth. You're meant to be better than these people, for fuck's sake. I will not apologise for pointing out the evil schemes of the devil and attempting to corrupt our children. I will stand firm. And then she would quote some stuff about the armour of God, which, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's what they had in mind when they wrote that. Because, the ultimate form of evil is two teenage girls having a peck on the lips in the middle of the woods on Dinosaur Island. So yeah, to sort of round it off, this was a nice bit of ridiculousness for me to be a bit snarky over, but admittedly, I find it more sad than anything else. I know some people have been legitimately angry over this one. I personally am not one of them. I just find this to be a bit sad that some little girl has had her favourite TV show taken away from her for the stupidest of reasons. And that there are people so blinded by their perceived religion. Because there's no religion that really puts this out there. It's usually weird fringe groups. Most of them focus on more positive aspects of the Bible's teachings and have the attitude of, well, love the sinner, hate the sin. And I prefer that to just constantly living in fear of shit you disagree with. That's not healthy. Now, it's kind of funny to me that this woman insists that everyone who disagrees with this assessment is, well, I don't know if she said the word or not, but basically triggered. However, some people are, but a lot of people are just making fair points. Like, if this was a straight couple, you'd have no issue with it, and it's true, they didn't. Nobody had an issue with the straight relationships in the original Jurassic Park trilogy. And they had worse than this. Like, they had, more extensive kisses that were a bit more involved, I guess. But I don't think any of these people that I've found so far, admittedly this woman does delete comments from what I've seen, and blocks a bunch of people. She hasn't done it as much as I thought. Most of these people can't handle alternative viewpoints, and she's done a decent job of keeping comments that she disagrees with. I actually appreciate that. But at the same time, the response is, oh, well, you're triggered, oh, this. But this woman seems to get upset over everything. She's anti-mask. She's upset over trans people. She's freaking out over Biden's existence. She seems to think that these stupid meme things are really clever that people come up with, oh, well, according to fact checking, a duck is a squirrel and stuff like that. And it's the sort of, it's like Lauren Pritchard's stupid stand-up. It's okay. And honestly, these people come across to me as a little easier to upset. maybe that's just me. Some people on the opposite side have been way too easy to upset and have been freaking out over this one woman's personal choice in parenting her kids. And whilst I don't think she's making the right choice, at the end of the day, it is her choice, and in the grand fucking scheme of things, I don't know if this matters that much that it requires a huge outburst in that department. I've seen a lot of people insist that this is child abuse and dramatic shit like that. Personally, I don't think it is. The family seems happy, so I don't see why that would be the issue. But I just kind of hope that people move away from this Phil Phillips bullshit and actually just give your kids a chance to fucking understand what they're seeing and process it for themselves. And you are more than welcome to guide them, you are more than welcome to put in your input. But do not control the narrative. Because I've noticed as well, this woman also homeschools her kids. So I don't know if that's just whilst they're small children or if she's always going to do that. But I have to admit, one day they are going to get into the wider world, and whether or not they can take that is really down to what you do now. So if I were you, or anyone in this situation, I'd start building up some tolerance towards things that they don't necessarily understand or agree with, or else they're going to get one hell of a frying pan to the face of reality once they walk out that door, and you can no longer control what they see and interact with.